Welcome to Jewish Mysticism Lessons in Tanya, Chapter 18. This is the third in the series, Soul Hacks, and the title is Dormant Love in Your Soul. We're on page 210 in the practical Tanya, and the Chapter 18 handout that you should each have at your seat. Tonight's class is dedicated in honor of the passing of the father of a dear member of our community at large, and then this class in particular, Dr. Hashem Akavan, his father, Mr. Moshe ben Magdir, I think is his father's name. So this class would be in his memory. May his neshama have an aliyah, as we say in amongst Jews. And by aliyah we mean an ascent, and amongst chassidim we wish not just, we say that not just should have an ascent, but we hope that very soon it'll have a descent. And it'll come back down here in a physical body with the coming of Mashiach, right? When it says, V'hakitzu v'rananu shochnei afar. It says that they will wake up those that reside among the earth.
We were surprised. We didn't know it was so sick.
So that's chapter 18. That's on page 210. In the last chapter, Dr. Rebbe finally began to answer the question of how is it true what we say, or what the verse says. We spoke about how when Moses was 120 years old, he gathered all the Jewish people in front of him. He told them many things. Amongst them, he said, the Torah which God has commanded you, right? The love of God which you should have in your hearts. It's not over the seas that you should say who's going to cross the seas and get it for us. It's not up in the heavens you should say who's going to climb up to the heavens. But rather, ki karov elecha hadavar me'od. It is very much within reach. It is very, very close. Ki karov elecha, it is close to you. Hadavar, this thing, me'od. Very, very close. And so, in last week's lesson, the Alter Rebbe began to answer the question by explaining it on a very simple level. Anyone who has a mind has the ability to control their hearts. Anyone that has mental abilities can use their mental abilities to focus on a particular topic and arouse a particular emotion, or to choose not to arouse a particular emotion. Why? Because God gives us an inherent ability, a natural ability, because naturally the mind rules over the heart. The question is, where does the very come from? The me'od. Right? It seems to be a little bit more than just saying, oh, it's available to you and it's natural to you, but you have to work very, very hard, which is what we've said so far, right? So we've used the word very, but we've used it on the wrong side. We said it's very, very hard. Where does the word very, that is kikarov elachadav me'od, that's very much within reach? What does Moshe Rabbeinu, what does the Torah mean when it tells us kikarov elachadav me'od, that it's very, very close to you?
Like it's in our genes.
As if it's in our genes, which is what we're going to talk about in a moment. As if it's like, come on, it's right there, just make it happen. Right? When do you say you're very, very close, right? As children, we used to play hot and cold. Is that what the game is called?
Hide and seek?
No, hot and cold. I think it's right? Hot, cold. Right? When you go around the room, somebody hides from you, and you say, oh, you're getting hotter, you're getting warmer, you're freezing cold, you're boiling hot. Right? It almost seems like it's telling you, you're boiling hot, you're right there, it's very, very close to you. Right? Just tap into it and you'll get it. That's the goal. Right? By the end of this lesson, you'll see me get just as passionate and talk about how close and how boiling hot, how very, very close it is to you. Just get in touch with it. About the same thing about a love for God. And that is the challenge that the Alter poses for us here in chapter 18. How can we have that type of feeling of like it's right here? Right? About a love for God, about a love of Hashem. Yeah. And this, by the way, the difference between chapter 17 and chapter 18 is going to be the difference between the long, short way and the short, long way, which the Alter spoke about on the title page of Tanya. Does anybody remember that? It was based on the story from the Talmud where there was a Tanaic sage who wanted to get to it. I think it was Tanaic, could be it was an Amora, I don't remember. But it was a Talmudic sage. But either way, he wanted to get to a certain city, and he came to a fork in the road, and he asked the young child, how do I get there? And he says, well, if you go this way, it's the long, short way, this way is the short, long way. So he figures out, it's the short, long way. If it's short, I'm gonna take it. So he goes the short, long way, and indeed he gets to the city very, very quickly, and he a couple minutes later, and And he gets there, and there's bushes and shrub and all sorts of things blocking the way, and he can't get into the city unless he would work very, very hard. And so he circles back around, thinking he'll take the other way. And as he gets back to the child, he says, "Why did you tell me this way was the short way?" He says, "I told you it was the short way, but it's long. This is what I meant. If you go the long way, it'll be long, but when you get into the city, it'll be very easy." And indeed, he took that route, and it gets down directly to the city. So last week we discussed the long but short way. In other words, the Alter Rebbe encourages us, don't be lazy. Put in the effort. Put in the effort into developing a proper love for Hashem. Meditate on Hashem. Think about Hashem. Focus on Hashem. Make your davening a proper davening, and then you will actually give birth to a proper love for Hashem and a proper fear for Hashem, and your mitzvahs will soar. In this week's chapter, the Alter Rebbe is going to talk about how, if we want to, at least as a short fix, it might not last as long, but there's something for us to tap into which is much closer to us, and that's something unique to the Jewish people. And the Alter Rebbe introduces the words ahava mesuteret, or as he translates them here, dormant love. I think literally the words we translate as hidden love. And mesuteret, what's mesuteret? Hidden, right? The hidden love, or the dormant love, which every single Jew has in them. Right? This is the same thing, by the way, which drives, if you've ever had a Chabad rabbi who looks at you and says, "No, I'll tell you what you really want. You really want to do a mitzvah. Yeah, hey, you don't want it, right?" What does it mean you really want? Because inherently, every single one of us contains a natural love. We contain this dormant love inside our soul that we can tap into. That's what the Alter Rebbe is referring to. Where does this love come from? That's the $1 million question. So this love traces its source to the first people to connect themselves to Hashem. Who were the first people to connect themselves to Hashem? Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. As a matter of fact, Avraham is called Avraham Ohavi. God calls him Abraham, my lover, the one who loves me. That's why Abraham, till today, Kabbalistically, and even not Kabbalistically, even among the more regular commentators of the Torah and the Talmud, etc., all refer to Abraham as being Chesed. Yitzchak is Gevurah, Yaakov is Tiferet, Abraham is Chesed. So while this love comes from all three of them, right? But it comes particularly from Abraham, as does our Yira, our fear of God, come from Yitzchak. What? Merciful, kindness, yes. I think merciful in particular is usually used more for Yaakov. Tiferet is more sometimes translated as mercy. Some people use that as the word. Rachamim. Rachamim and Tiferet are. Chesed is kindness, loving kindness, goodness. Abraham was called the master of love, and that's because Abraham, starting from the tender age of 3, as we know, began to meditate about Hashem. He began to meditate on Hashem and to permeate his life with a kindness which he reflected of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Throughout Abraham's life, we know that he was obsessed with doing favors, with being kind to other people. Not in a blindsided, whatever sounds good, feels good kind of way. No, true kindness for people. Right? It means knowing what's best for a person and doing it for them, even if it doesn't sound all fluffy, but doing the kind thing for them. So much so that on the third day after Abraham Avinu, at the age of 99 years old, gave himself a circumcision, circumcised himself, and God tells him, rest up a little bit, right? We're all familiar with the story. And God had to take the sun out of its shield so as to make it unbearably hot, like that no guests would come, because Abraham was standing outside, or sitting outside, waiting for guests to come because he was addicted to kindness. And eventually God said, the angels, etc., as we know the rest of the story. This was Avraham. Avraham was one of the 3 fathers which together are called, as it says in, let's read it inside, that the patriarchs were a chariot, the Medrash and Medrash Rabbah on Genesis. I'm in section 2 now, I'm jumping around a little bit. I'm in section 2 now, right, inheriting emotion. The Medrash teaches that the patriarchs were genuinely a chariot to God. Very cryptic statement that the Medrash makes. What does it mean, a chariot? What does it mean to be a chariot to God? Just as a chariot, right, has no mind of its own, right? There's a rider. The rider decides where he wants the chariot to go, right? He whips the horse this way, or if there's none of that, a car has no mind of its own. It has gasoline. It has an engine. It might even have an amazing computer system, right? But it doesn't drive wherever it wants to drive. Oh, that parable is becoming obsolete, huh? With Tesla and the self-driving cars and stuff.
They're crashing.
Yeah. For now, we'll continue to use it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you see what happens when you leave them to their own minds, right?
Yeah.
For the most part, right, a chariot is one that does not have a will of its own. It's bottle, it's completely nullified, it's completely submissive to the desire that its rider or its navigator has. Similarly, that was the Avos, that was our forefathers, that was the patriarchs. They were completely devoted to Hashem. Whatever Hashem's will was, right? Hashem said jump. They didn't say how high. It was the same as you telling your hand to go up, right? It doesn't take. There's no discussion. Let the hand discuss with the brain. Do I want to go up? Do I not want to go up? It goes up automatically. That was the type of submissive. In Yiddish we say ibergegebenkeit, like a given overness that the patriarchs had for Hashem, and that took a lot of work on their part, right? And as a result of all that effort, Hashem says to the Avos, to our forefathers, you were so given over to me. You worked so hard to become so devoted to me that I am going to carry on that as a thank you gift to you. I will give as an inheritance this same devotion that you have. I will give it to every single one of the Jewish people. And here's where we get to the crux of today's conversation, which is the soul. How does the soul work? Right? How does a love that there is inside the soul, or this dormant love, this hidden love that there is inside the soul, how does that work? Right? So Kabbalistically, the neshama is split up into five portions. Kabbalistically, the soul is split into 5 sections. I'm sorry, that's why I try not to look at my phone during the class. But it's urgent. Kabbalistically, the soul is split into five sections, right? Nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida. The bottom 3, nefesh, ruach, and neshama, reside within our bodies. Right? When we talk about the soul that we have inside of us, the chelik alo kamima mamash, etc., obviously talks about all of them. Right? When we talk about the fact that when somebody looks at you and says, you have a neshama, you have a soul inside of you, they're talking about nefesh, ruach, and neshama. The bottom 3, where are chaya and yechida? Chaya and yechida remain above. But they're not that they remain above, and therefore they have no connection to you. They're constantly connected to you and nefesh, ruach, neshama. They're constantly connected to the bottom 3 that reside within you. This is where we get to the famous, always the best way of illustrating this is with the famous story of Daniel. Daniel was one of those, I'll find it inside, we'll read it inside together. Yeah, page 213. Pam, you want to read for us? It's a beautiful story.
In here?
Yeah, you have it?
Yeah.
Page 213.
If you're not cut out...
In one, where are you? Page 213.
Yeah.
In one, no, not in the practical lessons.
Oh, okay.
In one of his
In
discourses.
one of his discourses, Rabbi Schneur Zalman clarifies this idea through the Talmud's comment on the verse in Daniel. I, Daniel alone, saw the mystical vision. The men that were with me did not see the vision, but a great trembling fell upon them, so that they fled to hide themselves. The Talmud asks, and if these men did not see the vision, why did they flee trembling? And the Talmud answers, because even though they did not see the vision, the Mazalos saw it.
Right, so this is a quote from the Talmud and Megillah. Before we get to the discourse is coming up in a moment. The Talmud and Megillah relates a very interesting story. He was a man who saw godliness, right? Daniel. He saw godliness because he was on such a high spiritual level, right? He was one of the prophets. And he saw godliness almost in the flesh, right? Like as a proper vision. Now, obviously not like Moshe Rabbeinu saw it, right? It says nobody knew God face to face like Moshe Rabbeinu did, but in some sort of prophetic vision. And he was in awe. And he said, and this vision happened to have come to him, without getting into all the details of the story, while there were men around him. And when he relates this story, he says, even though the men around me did not see the vision, I asked them afterwards, they did not see the vision, but they began to tremble. The Gemara in Megillah, the Talmud in Megillah asks why. Why? If they did not see the vision, what would make them tremble? Right? And this way the Gemara introduces this famous concept that even though Ihu lo chazi, they did not see it, Mazlai hu chazi, their mazel saw it. In English, I guess the best translation would be their luck saw it. Or their spirit form saw it. Their inner being saw it. The Alter Rebbe, The reading to it. Shneir Zalman translates the term mazalos to mean the root of the soul, which is not enmeshed in the body, but it flashes and shines into the chachma of the divine soul, which is enmeshed in the body. The mazel literally sees that there is no way of deviating from God and communicates this subliminally to the conscious mind. In other words, in this moment, these people, even though they didn't feel it, right? Anybody ever heard the term your neshama is listening? Your neshama understands? Right? There's a class being given and you don't understand, but your neshama understands it. Who are we talking about? If my neshama gets it, then why don't I get it? Because there's a part of your neshama that's not in you. And even though sometimes you might not see something, your neshama does see it. By the way, Chassidus explains in other places that this also accounts for those random moments of inspiration that sometimes you might have, right? So some mornings you wake up and you're inspired. Today I want to be an amazing person. I'm going to be as close as I can to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm going to connect to Hashem on a level unprecedented, etc. Right? And then the next day we might be back to who we are, right? Or whatever. Maybe it takes a little longer, whatever. However long the inspiration lasts. That inspiration is this. It seems to come from deep within you, and you don't know from where, right? But it's not something you saw. Sometimes it can happen when you wake up in the morning, right? And sometimes these inspirations come from the fact that our neshama, but not the part of our neshama that's in you, is the part that's above, sees some sort of level of God. And sees there's something special about this place, this moment, this person, this experience, and communicates it to the neshama inside of us and sends a message, something is special. So we might not actually be on a level where we can experience that thing, but we feel there's something going on. That's why these people tremble. Because their neshama, their mazlayu, the part of their neshama that was up above, that was not enmeshed in their body, that part of their neshama did see whatever vision, divine vision was going on. As a chariot to God, the patriarchs experienced a conscious awareness of the divine. Therefore, they merited too that their future descendants would forever be endowed with lofty souls, which would have at least a subconscious experience of their mazolos seeing the divine. So where does that power come within us? Why do we have any part of our neshama within us? Why do we have that nefesh ruach neshama inside of us? Right? What makes us so lucky? Why should we have that? Right? By the way, the Gemara talks about, and Chassidus elaborates on this, about how right, a ger, a convert, is called the Bnei Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov. Right? When they're told to the Torah, they're called the son of Abraham, or when you want to say a prayer for them, you say the son of Sarah. Right? Why is that? That's because on that level, they already always were the children of Abraham and Sarah. Right? And now is not the time. There's a fascinating conversation we could have about a soul, the soul of a convert, how that works. Now, when a person converts to Judaism. I know. So we could have that conversation. And I don't mind. It's actually a fascinating conversation which talks about the fact that a convert actually has a soul within them even from before they become Jewish. And then after they become Jewish, that becomes revealed within them. But something does change after the moment that they dunk in the mikvah.
At the level of Abraham.
Yeah, correct. That they get now. So what the relevance of today's conversation is that neshama makes them a child of Abraham as we do, and on certain levels, again, not for today's conversation, even more than a born Jew. On that note, by the way, that also ties into Har Sinai, right? We're told that the neshamas of every single person throughout the world was at Har Sinai, was at Mount Sinai. Right? And that's part of them, right? Their neshama was there as well. And it's a very interesting conversation we can have one day. Go ahead.
So, not just Jews have neshama, everybody has neshama. What's the difference?
You're saying a non-convert?
No, yeah.
A non-convert, they don't have a neshama, they have a nefesh. There is a difference. Unless someone converts, then it reveals that they had something from beforehand, and then that neshama actually becomes revealed within them. There is a difference between the soul of a Jew and the soul of a non-Jew, 100%. Now, and by the way, this ties into today's conversation, because the soul of a Jew has this special addition to it, which is that Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov gave them this gift of inheritance. A non-Jew who's not a descendant of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov doesn't have that, unless they are a convert, at which point they are spiritually children of Avraham, Yitzchak.
But there are many non-Jews that love God very much too.
Correct, no problem. They would have to work much harder. They don't have this inherent or hidden love, this dormant love they can just tap into, which we're going to talk about throughout the rest of today, how that affects us, right? So far we just introduced the concept. In a moment we're going to talk about it. So, does this preclude non-Jews from loving God? No. Does it preclude non-Jews from even being good people? For sure not. Right? What we're talking about is a special gift that a Jew has that is given to him because he's a son of Abraham. Let's let it flesh itself out, and then we'll come back to this topic. Sound good?
It's a good topic.
All right. So, The Medrash says that they were like a chariot. They were so given over to Hashem. And as a result, Hashem said, I'm going to give a gift to all of your children that they're going to have this nefesh, ruach, and neshama, these special things that they'll be enclosed in their body. Chayyid remains above. Now, what is the source of these souls? What is the source of these souls? So, the Alter Rebbe already introduced this to us at the beginning of Tanya. We spoke about how God blew the soul into Adam, etc., right? And the fact that it's a piece of Hashem, Chelek Elokam Imal. But we never really got down and dirty to exactly where it's located. And the answer, the reason why we didn't do that, the answer to that question, right? Because every person's neshama comes from somewhere along the range of what we call Malchut Dasiya, which is the lowest level of the lowest realm, all the way up to Chachma Datzilas, or it can come from the highest level of the highest realm. Okay? So, to just decrypticize that or demystify that for a moment, there are 4 spiritual realms. We've spoken about that before, right? Atzilot, Bria, Yetzirah, Asiya. It was through these realms, and as each one contracted more and more and allowed for physical existence more and more, that the actual physical world came to be. And that was the way that Hashem, because if you think about it, the world is not a natural existence. Natural meaning by godly standards, right? Naturally, if godliness fills the entire void and God is everything, then how can a world wherein we can feel as if we are our own existence, how can that exist? In order to do that, there were a lot of things that God had to do. Part of that was these 4 realms. And the tzimtzum, which you'll be familiar with, the contractions that happened along the way, that things had to get less and less spiritual and more physical. In order to morph into physicality, at some point there had to be a jump from spirituality to physicality. But there had to be the potential for existence, the potential for physicality, until it eventually morphed into actual existence, which is really up to it. So these 4 stages, these 4 spiritual realms, so each one is made up of the 10 sefirot, right? God's 10 attributes shine in those as well, and they go from highest to lowest. Chachma, Bina, Dahat, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Yisod, Malchut. Right? All the ones we're familiar with. So in total, there are 40 levels, without getting too nuanced that each one is made up of 10, etc., and getting to very, going down. So on a general level, there are 40 levels here. Every single Jew's neshama, this gift that Hashem gives him, comes from somewhere along that spectrum.
Women come from Bina.
Women in general come from Bina, but I want to introduce a different concept here, which is that a person's neshama doesn't always hang out in the same place. What does that mean? Meaning, women's neshamas don't come from Bina; they correspond to Bina. In other words, they draw energy from Bina that they're
Bina.
correct more than right. That's for a class on men and women. There are lots of Kabbalistic classes on men and women.
But nowadays, there's no difference.
But just generalizing for a moment, every person's neshama comes from somewhere along those 40 levels, but it doesn't stay stationary. What does that mean? Based on, I'll tell you, introducing this on page 214, the Tanya notes briefly that your soul level can ascend throughout your life. Each individual begins life according to his soul's initial level in the spheres within the 4 worlds. And then his soul can ascend the spheres and the worlds during his life following his good behavior. Right? Without getting into there's actually on this line and how it works, the fluctuation of the neshama. You'll notice this in the star on page 214. Page 214. This has been debated among contemporary scholars about exactly what it is that the Alter Rebbe means here by kafi madrigato or kafi ma'asav, as per his level and his actions. But on a simple level, right, we took the practical Tanya. On a simple practical level, a person's neshama, based on how holy he is throughout his life, he or she is throughout his life, throughout his or her life, it goes up and down that spectrum of these 40 levels. Right? How does it start? You should all know the answer to this already from the 2nd chapter of Tanya. How does it start? How do we know where it starts? Right? So that depends on the intentions of his father and mother, his or her father and mother during intimacy. Right? So during intimacy, if the parents are holy and they actually have pure intention, this is why Judaism stresses so much how direct a person's thoughts have to be during intimacy. Meaning how focused they have to be. So then they can draw down either the nefesh of Malchut Dasiya, which is the lowest, or all the way up till, Yechida Shab Yechida of Chachma Datziya, which is the highest. But no matter what, the lowest it is, at the very least, it's part of those four realms. As a result, it is godliness itself. Right? Yeah. So already on a general level, we have this understanding that we have a neshama inside of us that's so tied into godliness that it already loves God. It has a predisposition to love God. It's primed is the word they use in the psychological terms, right? It's primed to love God. There's a better word, right? Destined, right? It's destined to love God. The question is just how much is the human being going to tap into it and allow that to happen, right? And so we're already beginning to start answering the question of how is it very close to us, right? How is it very much within reach? Because this is not something, you're not introducing a novel concept. You're not creating something from new. You're not lighting a fire in your neshama. You're just sparking a little spark. You're fanning it into a flame. You're fanning a little spark into a flame.
Potential.
More than potential. It's more than potential, right? Because potential would be if somebody's actually an honest judge, they sit in a room and there's a court case and they have two people come before them. An honest judge has the potential to rule guilty, the potential to rule innocent, but they're equal potentials. Right? Here we're saying the neshama is biased. That's the word I was looking for. The neshama is biased. The neshama is predisposed to love Hashem. For you to not love Hashem, right? And this is where going back to the Chabad rabbi who tells you, you want to do a mitzvah, you think you don't, you really do. What he's saying is your neshama is already predisposed, is already biased towards doing the mitzvah. So when the Torah tells us, that see I put before you the good and the bad, the life and the death, and choose life as if it's some sort of big choice. It is a big choice. And we do have the choice to choose between the two of them. But as children of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, we have this special gift of being predisposed to choose the right thing. We're predisposed to love Hashem. Now, this doesn't mean that comes out until revealed. There are many people, I've seen them, that go throughout their lives not tapping into that. You know? So I have this little spark and
So it's really opposite. Hard work is going against what's predisposed.
Okay, so I do want to say it's not necessarily hard work. You have a nefesh bahamit, an animal soul on that side, who's very excited for you to come over to his side of the game. It's not hard work to fail. It's just that between the two of them, one side is a little bit easier, drop easier, but it's easy to go to both sides. You choose whichever you want. The Tanya is not saying that this way it requires no work at all, right? Think about the short, long way. You still have to walk till the door. You still have to work a little bit. You have to make it happen. It doesn't come naturally to a person. But there's a dormant love that we can tap into. There's this ava masakhet, and that's what he's introducing.
Is this one and the same with the unconscious mind, or rests in the unconscious mind?
What do you mean by the unconscious mind? We're talking about a soul, not a mind. We're talking about a soul, not a mind.
No, but this way to bridge this. Like it's almost like you're saying, like I'm imagining a cup, and if I find the right portal to go, okay, that's the very, very close. I know I'm not making any sense, but I know what I mean.
I'm trying to understand your question.
Yeah.
Is this the same as the subconscious mind? I would imagine this definitely happens on a subconscious level. Definitely. And you don't even realize it unless you tap into it. There's no question. A person can go throughout his life, and we as outsiders looking at him, we go, I don't know. I'll take Tanya's word for it that this guy's got a dormant love. I've never seen it come to the front, come to the fore. Right? That can definitely happen. But then we know from our own experiences that, and this is, by the way, where things like too many examples cloud the point. But the point is that when a person chooses to tap into it, it's right there. It's not very far. It's very much within reach. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu says, that it's very close to you. In fact, it's within you. It's not just a potential, it's a predisposition. You just have to let it be a reality. Let it reveal itself. Okay. We're going to get a little Kabbalistic here for you. No, just because this is what Tanya does here. Tanya wants to give you an exact destination. Tanya says, so where exactly does this love come from? This love is associated with the concept in Kabbalah called Chachma. What is Chachma? Chachma is the first of the 10 Sefirot. We've heard about it. Loosely translated as wisdom, or other words that people use, but let's just use the word wisdom. Now, the word Chachma Keter is higher than them. Well, really depending on how you count the Sefirot, but this is not, we won't get too busy with the Sefirot. It's not a class on the Sefirot. Depends whether you count Tiferet or not. Some people skip Tiferet and put Keter instead of it. Either way, what is Chachma? Chachma is the first of all the Sefirot. And Chachma is a little bit more than just wisdom. Maybe we talk about Chachma as wisdom, but as intelligence, right? But Chachma is, and pardon me, Pam, I'm going to use your example, is a little bit like a cup. A little like a cup. Why? Because Chachma, and when we talk about it in ourselves, by the way, we talk about it as that first flash of intelligence, right? That first moment before it's been fleshed out into any existence. And when we talk about it on levels of godliness, it's a level of godliness that is completely submissive to Hashem. It's just this, let Hashem pour into me whatever it is. Similar to when a person actually has that flash of wisdom, it's because he's completely submissive. If a person wants to train himself to actually have that flash of intelligence, you have to actually push everything else aside. Anything you know from beforehand, if you actually try to have a breakthrough, a real, proper mental breakthrough, then you, not breakdown, breakthrough. So then you want to push everything else aside and make yourself completely a vessel to be able to accept some sort of new brainstorm, a new idea. Right? Similarly with Hashem, with godliness, it's the same thing. Chachma Datzilus. The highest level, the first level of all the 10 Sefirot, is this willingness to accept, this inquisitiveness, this ability to show me. Hashem, you show me. And that's why the Kabbalists are quick to point out that etymologically the word Chachma can be split up into two words, Koach, Ma, which means the 10 Sefirot are called the Eser Kochot, the 10 powers, so to speak, right? And Chachma is called Koach, it's the power, but Ma, we don't know what it is. What is it? Why? Because it's so nullified. It's so, I'm not in existence, I'm just here to accept godliness. In other words, the highest level of all of them. That's why it is the highest level of all of them, because it's the least physical, it's the least existence, it's the least egotistical, it's just, what am I? I'm nothing. I'm nothing. I don't get in the way of anything. I just allow for the presence of Hashem to come into me. Right? And that is where this concept of a dormant love, of that ability of just to connect to Hashem, comes from. Right? From this highest level, this so close to Hashem. Right? It's so close to actual godliness. And so from Chachma is where it comes. Now, because the Eser Sefirot, the 10 Sefirot are called, they have what's called Hitkalilut. Hitkalilut means that each one of them is made up of 10. Right? So therefore, no matter what stage of all the 40 a person may come from, there's still all 10 Sefirot within them. And Chachma connects to Chachma. Right? The Chachma of, let's say, the lowest level receives from the Chachma of Atzilut, from the highest Chachma. No matter where you are on the spectrum, that Chachma eventually gets from the original Chachma. And if so, every single Jewish person has within them their Chachma, so to speak, that point of them, which is so submissive that it's just ready to accept godliness, and that's where that dormant love comes from. And this is why, by the way, without getting into too much of the details, back to the intimacy and the thoughts that a person has during intimacy, this is why sometimes even a sinner who for sure wasn't thinking the right things during intimacy can sometimes, we'll call it a fluke, right, give birth to a tzaddik, to the neshama of a tzaddik, from the highest level. He has a neshama from the lowest level of all 40, and he gives birth to a neshama from the other, from all the other end of the spectrum. The reason for that is because he has essentially in him everything. Even the biggest sinner among the Jewish people has essentially within him every single level, because that's the way the Sefirot work. They all mix within each other. And if so, then he's connected even to the highest level. Now, obviously, he's not letting it reveal, right? But what the Tanya is trying to point out is that every single one of us has that within us. And by the way, this is always Tanya's explanation for why it is that every single Jew, no matter where he is in the world, if you put him up against the wall, God or death, if you believe in God or were put to death, will always choose godliness. This is Tanya's explanation for things like the Holocaust, where Jews found it hard to deny their Judaism, or hard to deny any association with God, the Spanish Inquisition, right, where either Jews chose to be Moranos, where essentially they just put on an outward facade and they were really keeping Yiddishkeit, or if they weren't comfortable doing that, they chose to live their lives. Yeah, burning at the stake. They could have just converted. But conversion was putting somebody up against the wall and saying, either you completely denounce your connection to Hashem, and Tanya explains to us that every single Jew, no matter how low he may fall, has within him that spark, that chachma, that koachma, that dormant feeling of I want godliness in my life. Now, it may never come to the fore during a person's life, but if when push comes to shove, that's what every Jew wants. By extension, by the way, because every Jew has this chachma inside of them, every Jew also inherits emunah. Right? This is why the Jewish people are called ma'aminim. This is the only thing the Jewish people are called that were the sons of. Right? Ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim. The Jewish people are called believers, the sons of believers. Why? Because this belief, this inherent faith that we have in Hashem, again, which makes them when a Jew is put up against the wall, etc., that he'll always stay committed to Hashem, stay committed to godliness, that belief is rooted in the Chachma, and it's connected to that dormant love. So that's all the same. I know in Yiddish, for instance, we like to use the word pintel yid, right? The point of the Jew. And everything is, it's the pintel yid, that's your pintel yid talking there. But now we're in the Chai, and we're dissecting a little bit Kabbalistically, we're talking about where it comes from, what it is. But essentially, that's why all this phrase, a pintel yid, is referred to with all these things, right? Or your neshama hears, or your neshama is listening, or you really want to do a mitzvah. That pintel yid, that inner spark that every Jew has, that's all we're referring to. And that's why, that's why it's so close to you. Why? Because you have it. You have it within you, just tap into it, and it'll come out. How do we tap into it? So that's up to us. Either we say to ourselves, I'm just going to leave myself open, let it do all the work, and that's it, and then it's the short but long way. Right? You get this brief moment of inspiration. Right? We spoke about how sometimes that pintel yid is the source of our inspiration because it's connected to the neshamas up above, etc. Right? But sometimes, if we choose to, we can choose to reveal that hidden love. That's always the source of our love. But we can choose to reveal that hidden love in a way that's much deeper and much more long-lasting. And that way is through what we discussed in chapter 17. That way is through meditation, the proper focus on Hashem, and actually bringing it out the long way, right? Working hard at it, but because it's not easy come, it's not easy go. And that love stays. Correct. And that's what the non-Jew doesn't have. In other words, can a non-Jew love God? Yes, of course a non-Jew can love God. Can a non-Jew be a good person? Of course a non-Jew can be a good person. By the way, it's not just that a non-Jew can do that. Meaning what we said today actually brings up a big question. Because according to Chassidus, a Jew had to be, because the purpose of the world was for a Jew to come down here and to be able to choose between good and evil have to be equally as enticing to a Jew, right? So, and this question we're not going to answer today. We're going to end up going down a black hole. I just want to bring it up like that to give a little perspective as to what's going on here. That's part of why there need to be non-Jews in the world. And if you think about it, why does everybody in this world even not Jewish? Why can't just everybody be Jewish? Right? And everybody have the same mission in the world, and everybody have the same thing. Right? Why do we believe there are Jews and non-Jews with different missions in this world and different things to achieve? Right? Part of that is because a Jew has to have that ability to choose the right thing. He has to be able to look at another person and say, look at this person, he's having just as fine of a life, right? And he seems to be doing just as good and have just as much of a mission as me, etc., right? And be able to choose that and be able to say, no, but I choose to be a Jew and to actually follow Hashem, and that's the value that Hashem has in us doing a mitzvah and actually following the ways of Hashem, right? So if that's the case, then a Jew and a non-Jew have to have equal opportunity, have to be similar in every facet. The only difference is that a Jew has this neshama, and how that doesn't take away from a Jew's freedom of choice is a good question, not for today's discussion. But definitely it does bring up that question. Does everybody see where I'm going here? Why there is such a question? Okay, but for the purpose of today's lesson, let's stay focused. This oneness of Hashem, why a Jew put me up against the wall and I'll never denounce God, why a Jew has a love and why it's very, very close, is because we as Jews are hardwired. It's a gift from Hashem, and it comes from Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, right? Avraham in particular. But we have this love of Hashem hidden deep within us. With this we conclude chapter 18, the dormant love in your soul, lesson 3 of Soul House.